Hi everyone, thank you for joining us in the third part of our webinar on how to navigate the COVID-19 crisis. And today the approach is going to be towards reassessment and planning. I'd like to thank our 2020 partners, PaySafe, Local Logic, Breeze Life and VanHack for being really supportive for queer tech during these uncertain times. Here you can see our next event series. We have the final part, the part 4th of our webinar coming on Thursday. Wednesdays, we have a meditation and mindfulness practice and a yoga session at noon. My mindfulness practice is at 8:30. Yes, and then every Monday we also have a workout session. Feel free to join us. And today, Mazdak, who dispenses introductions, we all know him, our inspiring entrepreneur and business coach who works with team to develop better leadership skills and make you a better version of yourself. And he will guide us today. Thank you, Mazdak. And now it's on you.
Thank you very much, Diego, for organizing and planning and doing all the postings, plus being my co-leader in all of the webinars beside me and moderating the calls. As I mentioned today, we're going to allow you guys to actually open your microphones and be part of the conversation. This is the part 3 of a 4-part webinar series navigating the COVID-19 crisis. We talked about the emotional mastery, we talked about grounding, and today we'll be talking about reassessment and planning. This is roughly the agenda for today. After the introduction, we'll go through the context and objectives. We'll have a recap of emotional mastery and grounding. We'll be digging deep in reassessment and planning. We're going to give you a teaser of what's to come for our last and final part this Thursday at noon on creative action. And we will have a wrap up and homework session, and we'll have some time for you guys to ask questions and feedback. On that note, make sure you have a notebook, piece of paper available, a pen or a pencil, your full uninterrupted attention. As we know, these Zoom calls and webinars, we try to multitask and do different things and watch our Prime Minister deliver their daily speech. And if you do that, we won't get the most of the webinar. And this is more than a webinar, it's an online workshop. So your participation actually enriches the information and the experience for everyone. So your participation and interactivity is highly recommended. And of course, let's all put a big smile and let's dig deep into that. This webinar is, of course, for people who would like to acknowledge the current situation. I would like to adapt to the following situation. This is going to be useful both for in a work situation and at home. So on that note, let's do a quick mindfulness practice. So wherever you are, I invite you to slowly take a seat, whether on a chair or on your cushion. Make sure your back is straight without creating any tension in your back. Make sure your neck and your head is aligned with your back. Make sure both of your feet are firmly on the ground. You can put your hands on your laps. Slowly close your eyes and start deepening your breathing. With each breath, try to take a little bit more air. And try make your breathing as natural as possible without trying to control them. Start observing the movements that your body makes as you take in the air and as you take out the air. Start observing the movements of your chest, of your belly, your shoulders. Slowly bring your attention to the sensations of the tip of your nose, the sensation of freshness when you take in the air, and the sensation of warmth when you take out the air. It's quite normal during your practice. Some thoughts might be present, some emotions, some distractions. It's quite normal. In that case, put a big smile on your face and bring back your attention to the sensation of temperature at the tip of your nose. And slowly extend your attention to the inside of your nostrils, inside of your nose, your throat, as the air passes through them. Let go of any thoughts if they're present. Now slowly and gently put your right hand on your heart. Try to find the beatings of your heart. You may have to adjust the position of your hand or adjust the pressure of your hand to be able to find the beatings of your heart. Bring your attention fully to the sensation of your heart beating. Now make an intention for this webinar, for this session together. Once you have the intention, slowly let go of your hand. Start deepening your breathing. And on the third deep breath, slowly and gently open your eyes. And you can either write in the chat box, "I am back," or unmute yourself and let us know that you're back. Wonderful. So let's do a quick journaling exercise. So with your inner voice, in silence, take the journaling book that you have or a piece of paper that you have and attempt to write a few lines for these questions. What are you observing about your emotions in the past few days? Who is your inner leader? What perspective opens up possibilities for you? What is the one thing you're grateful today? And if you could significantly improve one thing as a result of this webinar, what could that be? So Diego will give them a good minute and a half. Yeah.
Amber said, I'm not sure it is an emotion, but I am exhausted today.
It's a physical sensation. Yes. Good. Let's just take the final few seconds to finish your journaling. Wherever you are with your journaling, that's a beautiful place. An opportunity for you to finish up this journaling exercise after the webinar. And thank you, Amber, for sharing your physical sensations. Okay. So, what's going on now? If you guys want to unmute yourself, we can share some of your experiences these days. And if you don't feel like sharing verbally, you can always chat, and our moderator, dear Diego, will share it with us. Make sure you unmute yourself if you want to share. So what are you experiencing? What's happening for you? So Antoine is sharing that he's feeling generally calmer and more positive about the future. There's still some anxieties. Both happen at the same time, it seems. Yes, absolutely.
I'm still feeling kind of cooped up inside, even though it's not very nice outside, but finding that I'm finding ways to work around restrictions, like still follow them, but get what I need. I I hung out in the back of my car the other day so I could be outside in the absence of a patios. So I'm finding ways.
Cute, cute. Yes, yes, absolutely. So it seems like, you know, well, we are going to the context of self-isolation. Some of us lost our contracts, lost our jobs. There are a lot of health issues for ourselves, but also we are worried about our close ones and loved ones. There's still a lot of uncertainty, even though the general sensation since the first time we gave this this webinars, it's like we are trying to sink it in. We're trying to accept it. You know, as some of you mentioned, you know, that you're doing things to quote unquote normalize things, but there are still some of those anxieties, and there are some of those uncertainties that linger around. Yeah. So yeah, Antoine said, I appreciated being able to follow his creative impulse and try new things while working too. Yeah, great. So yeah, so those uncertainties take us to the places and bring us the emotions of anxiety and fear, and then we can get hijacked and become in the panic mood, and that's the time that we do not think clearly. Our decisions will not be good decisions, and our actions might be very reactive and might not necessarily serve us. As I mentioned this, and I'm repeating that so that it will really sink in. It doesn't matter the gravity of the situation and the crisis. Everything starts with you and ends with you. And that is because you are a naturally creative, resourceful, and whole person. You have all the resources and you have all the strengths that can get you go through this situation. That is because you have resiliency, you have confidence, and you have calm. The idea is how to go and grab that, how to go and tap into our resiliency, our confidence, and our calm. The pretext, as I mentioned this in other webinars too, still remains the same. We will get through this, providing that we do these two things. We must face the challenges heads on. So we cannot ignore them. We cannot let it run its course. We cannot just be on the sidelines. We absolutely need to face these challenges heads on. And we must have the faith and belief in ourselves being able to figure things out. And I repeat again, this is not about false optimism and wishful thinking and those, you know, fool's dream. No, it's about trusting and having faith in our own abilities to be able to figure things out. So these two things are the prerequisite of this work, of this webinar series, and the success through these challenges. So let's hear a little bit from you guys. What is it you want out of this webinar today? And you can either unmute yourself or you can share it in the chat. And I will be taking notes because that's very important for me. So what do you want to get out of this webinar today? What do you want to come out of with?
Something, a thought, an intention perhaps to help bring me back towards inspiration, moving forward, wanting to work and do business development.
So a thought, an intention that can guide me toward moving forward, inspire me, wanting to do something with work and business development.
Business development.
Yeah.
I'm still searching for the ability to complete tasks and follow through the things I need to do.
Okay. 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 I'm also feeling there's a little bit focus there, and there's a little bit motivation also there. So the underlying of what I'm hearing. Okay. Anything else?
That's all we have here in the chat box. Oh, yeah. How to plan my emotional future, thus being better able to manage in the next crisis and stressful times to come.
So just 1 second. Can you read that again a little bit slower so that?
Of course. How to plan my emotional future, thus being better able to manage in the next crisis and stressful times to come.
Wonderful. Okay. So what I'm getting here is the learning. What am I learning? What am I mastering almost my emotions if a future crisis comes? Yeah. Great. Good stuff. So hopefully at the end of this webinar, you will be able to think a little bit more clearer. You will be more purposeful and intentional. You are more confident in your decisions. You can plan a little bit short term, but also a little bit long term as well. You can foster an environment for which you are able to problem solve, be creative, and be innovative, and open to new opportunities and possibilities. And hopefully you end up with some actionable items that you can leave with, and to become this leaders and exude this leaders, whether in your personal life, whether with your loved ones, with your colleagues, or with your community. At the end of the day, in this 4-part series, we are trying to answer this question. Who am I becoming at times of crisis and uncertainty? What type of person I want to be, I am being during these times? What type of a leader I am becoming during the times of crisis and uncertainty? So we're hoping that through these 4 webinar series and the inquiries that we have, we're able to answer that inquiry question. As you guys know, we have embarked on a 4-step process to help you navigate through this crisis. The first step was emotional mastery. We're going to do a quick recap. The second step was to ground ourselves. We'll do a recap. Today we'll dig deep inside the reassessment and planning. And then we're going to have a quick touch on the creative action. So some of you shared some of the emotions that you had, but I just want to open the discussion here toward what are you retaining? What did you learn about this segment of our 4-step process? And you can open up your microphones. You can also type in chat. So what are you noticing about yourself? What are you observing about this emotional mastery?
Excuse me, that I have more mastery than I thought at the beginning of these webinars.
So something has shifted for you, Amber. What would that shift be? And other people could share. They can unmute their microphones.
Amber answered, the ability to stop and get outside myself, thus taking better decisions.
Yes. Yes. And that's wonderful, Amber. It's the idea that, okay, I acknowledge there is an emotion, but I intentionally want to put a stop. I want to breathe. I want to put stop. I want to acknowledge that there is the emotion. And now I'm becoming an observant of this emotion rather than being drowned in emotion, or what we called last time being hijacked. So that's a wonderful ability. So just to recap what we talked about the emotional mastery, it's about that strong emotions could hijack us, hijack our amygdala. It can take us to flight and flee and freeze mode. In that time, we're completely drowned and we cannot think clearly. We can be reactive decisions. You know, if we are angry, we might hit somebody in the face and then regret it. So the idea is to acknowledge that there is an emotion. Take the time to breathe. Name the emotion. That was very important. We use this wheel of emotions to name the emotion, and then observe what was the information that this emotion is going to tell me. We had an example. Let's say I had a meeting with someone and this person doesn't show up, and the emotion of anger and frustration comes and consumes me. I take a breath. I acknowledge that something's happening in my body. I name the emotion. I am feeling angry. I am feeling frustrated. And then I try to observe, where does this come from? Respecting other people's time is a big value of me. And the other person, by showing up late, did not respect that. And that caused that emotion of anger. Wow, that emotion of anger taught something about me. So this is how we notice our bodies. This is how we notice when we become this observance of our emotions rather than being drowned in our emotions. And we talked about emotional hijacking. What are some of the emotional triggers of us? And we talked about what are the 4 steps. And one thing I wanted you guys to really, really remember is to breathe. Great. Cool. So what do you guys remember about grounding? What did you guys learn about the grounding part of our webinar? And you can unmute your microphones. By the way, all answers are good answers. There's absolutely no judgment. So feel free. We are in a safe space. Feel free to share.
Just stopping and breathing has changed a lot of things for me.
Yes, and it does, and it does. And I thank you so much for sharing that. It does. Sometimes we forget because we are in the midst of the thing. We forget just to stop and to breathe. It makes a huge difference.
Using physical sensations to bring me back to quote unquote reality and out of my head.
Yes. Yes, sometimes we're so consumed in our thoughts, in our emotions, and checking in with our bodily sensations can allow us to get out of that mental state and think clearly, a little bit more clearly. So what do you guys remember about grounding? You know, we talked about the initial mindsets. We talked about the what we control, what we don't control. We talk about the gremlins and the beats and the saboteurs. We also talked about our inner leader and inner sage.
Melanie said here, remembering what is important and that others are experiencing the same feelings, even if I can't see that happening to them.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And this is a very important concept that Melanie brings, because if we go through the emotional hijacking, we go through all those negative thoughts, those initial mindsets that don't serve us, when we get into the voice of our saboteurs and voice of our gremlins, other people's too. And sometimes when you are interacting with other people's, it's the saboteur voice of the other person talking to the saboteur voice of me. And it's wonderful, it's beautiful if we can recognize that it's not the person talking, it's his saboteur voice is talking. And we mentioned about the initial mindset. Sometimes when these crises happen, these things happen, we get to that mindset of a scarcity, that mindset of limitation, mindset that, oh, this is the apocalypse, you know, nothing goes well, mindset of limiting beliefs that, oh, this is not a good time to launch a product, or this is not a good time to find a new job. But says who? These are the lies we are telling ourselves. And funny enough, other people are operating from that space too. So what they are saying to you maybe is coming from that very initial mindset as well. So for grounding, very important to put a pause. If you want to go fast, you need to go slow. So let's slow down things. Let's find out what are our initial mindsets. From where are we operating from? Scarcity? Are we operating from limiting beliefs? Let's recognize our saboteur voices, our gremlins. They say you're not good enough, judging ourselves, judging the situation, judging other people's. Accept the reality as it is and not as it should have been. You know, the COVID's dormant period is 14 days. I don't change that. I don't control that. We're now forced to be in confinement. I don't control that. So that brought us to the exercise we did last time. What I control, what I influence, what I have no control on. That was a great exercise. And doing those exercises allows us to shift to a different mindset. And that would be a mindset of our inner leader, inner sage, inner Jedi, whatever you want to call it. And when we were in that mindset that's serving us, mindset of our inner leader, now we can see that there are a lot of resources, internal and external resources that are available to us. And that was the recap. Make a pause, find out what is your current mindset, accept the reality as it is, shift your mindset, list down your resources. And also we talked about when we are operating from our strengths, values, and passions, that's the time that we feel the most grounded. Okay, let's move on to the third part, and this is the reassessment and replanning. Just want to give you a minute to look at this meme, this posting that was on Facebook, and some of you guys might have already seen that. But when I posted this, when I looked at, you know, first that was that initial, you know, fear zone, the panic zone, that is, you know, rush to buy toilet papers, and I don't know why toilet papers, because this has nothing to do with with that part. and then start, you know, having a little bit of observation, what's going on, and then also see like how are we gonna we're gonna become and be at that. And then one of our contributors said, oh, that looks like very similar to what we have in a grief curve. So again, I give you guys a minute to look at it. A lot of times when a shock happens, when a crisis happens, when something terrible happens, these are the emotions and these are the phases that we go through. So first we are shocked, then we are in denial, then we have a lot of frustrations, then the reality sinks in, we are in depression, then we start, you know, experimenting, you know, the backseat of the car to find out whether we are outside, you know, and then we make decisions, and hopefully good decisions for ourselves, and we integrate the new, that becomes a new reality, a new normal. So let me know, where are you guys in this curve? Just maybe in the chat or unmute yourself. Where do you guys feel that right now you are in this curve? Where are you, Diego, in this curve?
I would say I'm between experiment and decision, mostly towards decision.
Okay, okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Melanie said, I bounce between them depending on the day or hour.
Yeah. And that in the next slide we'll discuss that. Yeah, great. Yeah.
Antoine says, definitely in experiment, hence trying new things and feeling creative at times, but not focused yet or lacking a general direction.
Great. Very good. And again, this just doing this exercise give us that big picture view, that where we are. Are we on the left side? If we're on the left side, we'll still need that emotional work and grounding work. We're on the right side, now we can be more into decisioning and planning. So very quickly to explain to you, and this comes from the change theory. What we have is primary. Primary is the original state, or the ending state, is the reality what we knew it was before the COVID. And the secondary is in business sometimes they call it the ideal state, but it's not necessarily ideal. It's the secondary state. Is the future state that is trying to show up. We don't exactly know what it looks and feels like. And what happens is a crisis like this one pushes us from that primary to that secondary. And that push is called the edge. And how people go through that edge is different. Every single person passes through this edge differently. Some people are very fast and they're already in the secondary. They're already, in their space. Some people, like our friend Melanie said, might do a little bit of forth and back. They might go a little bit and like, no, it's not comfortable. They might come back and they might go. And some people might take a long time for them to get to that secondary part. So in times of the crisis, what happens is we are more pushed and we might have less choices in doing that. But it's for us to recognize where we are. Are we stuck at the edge? Are we moved to the secondary? Are you stuck back at the primary? And sometimes this is a little bit strong language, but sometimes we said what we knew of the reality is that we go through a crux and we are going to be rebirth. It's a renaissance. And this helps a lot to get that big picture of how things are happening. So in one of the things, in order to pass that edge, is what expectation of normal are we willing to let go of? And let's hear from a few of you. What expectation of normal you're willing to let go of? And you can unmute your lines too.
Standing in close proximity with others.
Yeah. And who knows? Maybe it's for a while, maybe even for many months to come, that would become the new normal. Yeah. Anything else?
That there are almost no outward expectations of what I should be doing, only internal.
Yeah. Let go of that expectation of an external world. Everything comes from inside. Yeah.
Thank you, Amber.
Thank you, Amber. Yeah.
Planning to get groceries only once a week instead of when I want or need.
Yeah. In my case, it's once in every 2 weeks. Yeah. So that's a good question. Maybe if you want, just take a screenshot of this. But that's a good question. do that every day. What is it today I want to let go of? Good. So as I mentioned, this is about like finding out what is, instead of being consumed of little weeds of things, what is the big picture? We call what is the helicopter view of things? Once we have done our emotional mastery and we are not hijacked anymore, we were able to ground ourselves. One of the first things, let's find out what are some of our risks and vulnerabilities. And I don't expect you to answer all of these questions. You can just take a screenshot, but let's pick one of these questions and try to answer that. Let's pick, what is difficult for me? Oh, to get into some of our risks, some of our vulnerabilities. What is difficult for me?
Mazdak,
Yes.
I don't know if it's my computer or yours, but my screen is all black.
I did that. I didn't
Okay, sweet.
to get confused by all the other questions. So just answer, what is difficult for me? And you can answer that, Diego, as well. What is difficult for you?
What is difficult for me? To avoid all the distractions I have when I'm working from home.
There you go. There you go. Distractions. That's a huge, that's a risk. That's a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Great. So, so number one, we get those questions, the places of risks and vulnerability. Do we have other comments?
Yes, Antoine said, same thing as above, that I need to be in charge of my activities and the evolution of my career, no one else. It was always the same, but now it's not hidden by the contracts that I have stopped coming.
Okay, so the risk and vulnerability there, that I don't have any contracts coming. Okay, so how long can I go financially without any trouble if there are no new contracts coming? So that's a place of risk. So once we identify that, let's try to, and again, you have to do that with that emotional mastery and with that grounding, because if you're hijacked, that's not a good time. But how would you medicate? Like, Diego, give me an example of that could be a way for you to mitigate the distraction.
Oof. Maybe set a timer and stick to it while I'm working. Like, okay, I'm gonna set this timer for 45 minutes and I won't move my ass out of the chair.
There you go. So we'll put in a schedule.
Yes.
And again, these are not the questions we can all answer right now, but this is the type of process that we have to go through. So Melanie is saying, finding the ways to be on the same page with others when we are not in regular contact. So am I doing the right thing? Okay. So what I'm saying, the risk here is to lose contact or lose that meaningful relationship with people. So Melanie, for you, what would be one thing you could be a mitigation of that? And Antoine, if you want to answer any mitigation around your contract. So Melanie is saying to make plan to reach out to people regularly. Yeah. So to put some sort of a ritual, to put some sort of habit in contacting people intentionally. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. So the first thing you do is finding what are your risks and vulnerability, and you put the medication places. So you're not bleeding. So because one thing that's very important in reassessment and planning, it's very possible that you might get again emotionally hijacked. So bring some awareness around that too. If that happens, again, do the exercise, do the mindfulness exercises. If that happens, again, bring back yourself to the grounding, to your resources, to what you control and you don't control. Because these could be breeding grounds while you're thinking about that to get hijacked again. So that's a place to look at. So now it's the time to make some decisions and do some analysis. And again, there's a long list of questions. Please take a screenshot of that, and let's pick one question for today. Diego, I let you pick one of the questions.
Okay. See here. What is working for me?
Okay, that's a good question. So, what is working for me?
Should I answer that?
Yeah, you can answer. Everybody else, you can unmute yourself and answer as well.
What's working for me right now is I'm able to stick better to my schedule, so I'm being more productive, and also I'm being more physically active.
Okay, yeah. So
doing
being
some
physically
homework,
active,
yes, it's working for me.
Good.
Antoine said, taking as much time as I need / want to bring my current to the highest quality possible.
So one of the good things about this, we have some time available.
Yes.
So that is working for us. Yeah. Good. Okay. So the type of things, and this is not the topic of today's conversation, but the type of things that allows us to do some planning, some decisions is, so what is our vision for this life? You know, what are some of our long-term goals? What were some of our objectives? And go and revisit them. Some people have them. The only thing they need to do is to check in. Is my vision for the future still holds despite this crisis? The goals, do they still hold? The objective, do they still? If you don't have these, that might be actually a very good place of introspection, that find out what are my visions, what are my goals, what are my objectives. And we do that through coaching. We do it through some webinars. If any of you guys would like to find out what is your ultimate vision for life, you can contact me. But this is a very, very beautiful time to check in with yourself, to validate them. And if you haven't done that, to do the exercise. The actual question here, what is your why? Why are you walking on this earth? What is your ultimate impact? And that brings us to the Japanese concept of ikigai. We do some coaching around that. And this is, I love it. You can take a screenshot of this. It's, what is it I love to do? What am I good at doing? What is it, my impact I want to be? What is it I want to see in this world? So what is it the world that needs right now? And how am I going to get paid for all of this? That is your ikigai. To find out the crossroad between all these points. And these, now that we have some time on our hands, might be the best place to find out, what is my why? What is my vision? What is my impact? What are some of my strengths? What does the world needs right now from me? So here's the inquiry question for you. And you can take this for after this webinar. I'm just gonna let it there for you. So let's say this crisis finishes in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, who knows? At the end of this crisis, where do you want to land? What do you want your world, your life, look and feel like? This is a very, very deep and strong question. And I implore you to journal about it after this webinar. When am I ending up after this? Ideally, because once you know what you like, you know what is your vision, you know what is your why, you know how you want to end up, you can reverse engineer it. That will become your course of actions. That will inform your decisions. So if you have two options, contract A, contract B, that will inform which one you would pick. If you have different ideas in front of you, that what you like, what you're good at, what is your why, what is your impact, what is all of that, that will guide those type of difficult decisions. That will set your course of actions. And then you can categorize it, as I mentioned, as long-term goals, as, you know, after this crisis, you know, 6 months, 9 months from now, and immediate actions. Because if you work it backwards, you're able to come into immediate actions today. In business, we do this SOAR analysis. We won't talk about it today, but if you're interested about it, contact me if you want this exercise to be at a business level. And whenever you're planning, and this my coach told me always that, is like, always hope for the best, but plan for the worst. And this worst is not worst case scenario, but plan for what, you know, is sticky. Plan for what might not go well. So you have a larger range of decisions and actions. And in order to help with this type of planning, always say, what is my high dream? So what is my ideal? Let's say 9 months from now, what would be all ideal? If I had a magic wand, what would the world look and feel like for me? And then what is my low dream? And again, low dream is not this apocalyptic and worst case scenario. The low dream is, what is it I don't want? You know, I don't want to end up doing this work. I don't want to end up, you know, having to move. I don't want to. So take a screenshot of this. And these 3 are very, very strong inquiry questions for you. What is ideal? What is it I don't want? And that informs your course of actions, and that informs your planning. And remember, always very simple, small, clean, clear. Don't do Gantt charts. Don't do big stuff. Just a few things that are very bite-sized, very simple, very small, to put a planning for your course of actions. So on that note, we're just going to have a quick recap of the discussion. It's about finding the big picture. It's find out what is our edge. How are we crossing that edge? Sometimes we flip-flop around that edge. What helps us to get to the secondary? So what are we willing to let go of? Then, what are our risks and vulnerabilities? What mitigation we will put in place? What are some of the decisions, the hard decisions we're going to make? What is our vision? What is our why? What are our goals? What are our objectives? And then plan a course of actions according to that. So the exercises are on the left side. You can take a screenshot of this page. Some of the books, you know, Start with Why with Simon Sinek is a very good book. The Simplicity Survival Handbook, The Soul of Money, because a lot of decisions we're making is about money, and our relationship with money is very important here. And we need to say some hard no's. And these 2 books, The Power of No and the Yes, Yes, Hell No, are very, very good books in those hard decisions. You know, like, what do I say no to? Okay, So I'm gonna go a little bit faster because we only have 5 minutes. Just remember that there is part 4, and in this part 4, we're gonna get into action. We're gonna get into problem solving. We're gonna find out how to tap in our creativity and innovation, how to create those daily habits and rituals that support our grounding and emotional mastery and this continuous work. And quick wrap up for us. Remember, you are resilient, and you have access to that resiliency. Once you have that emotional mastery and once you're grounded, you are able to go through this crisis. Remember, gratefulness, thankfulness, we journaled about that. Those self-affirmations, I am creative, I am capable, I am resilient. Those mindfulness practices, we did it at the beginning of our webinar. And serving from your heart, really, really being in service of people. Those are the antidotes of doubt, anxiety, fear, panic, whatever you call it. And how can we incorporate all of that in our daily habits and daily agendas? Remember, you're not alone. You have friends, you have partners, you have loved ones, you have family, you have a community. There's Queer Tech, there is me, there is Diego. We are here to help you. So reach out to us. I would love to pick up the phone and talk to you guys, hear your stories. What are you struggling with? How can I help you? And how can I help you at your workplace with your colleagues? So if you feel that this webinar would benefit your friends, your colleagues at work. I had a friend told me, I wish my boss would take this webinar. My life would have been so much easier. I'm like, absolutely. Let me know, let Diego know, and we can do that for you. So we have a few minutes here, Diego, correct?
We have 2 minutes.
Sure. So for any questions you may have, I'm very conscious of your time, but I'm here. Diego is here. We are here to answer any questions you have, or you have any feedback. We also do this work iteratively. This is the third cohort. Technically, we're doing it, even though you see it as second cohort. And Diego, since the very first time that we did that, every time we changed, and we listened to you guys, we took your feedback, and we changed it.
Thank you so much. It's great to see the little steps we can take, so it doesn't seem like huge tasks of quote unquote moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's it. One day at a time, small steps. And
Yeah.
yeah, Mazdak, I personally think you've done a great job with the webinar because, as Antoine said, sometimes we have this huge task of moving forward, but we don't really know how to start, what to do first. How can I? So it's very, yeah, that's very important. Melanie says, thank you for the session. The black screen Diego mentioned, I didn't like it as much. Could have been my phone at times.
Well, what happened?
The black screen Diego mentioned, I didn't like as much. Could have been my phone at times.
Okay.
I like to
Sorry,
have the
it just,
visual.
the slides disappeared occasionally, but it could have been me. I just like to see the question that I'm thinking.
Oh yeah. We did it intentionally because there were too many questions, and we picked one, so we didn't want people to be distracted by others. So good feedback. We'll talk about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good. So Diego, you can take it.
Thank you, Mazdak. Looking forward for the fourth part of our webinar coming on Tuesday. Thursday. I'm sorry, Tuesday is today. Coming on Thursday, and if you guys want to join us for mindfulness practice, Mazdak will guiding one tomorrow. tomorrow and Friday, Wednesdays and Fridays at 8:30. Tomorrow at noon we have a yoga session, and every Monday at noon we also have a workout session if you feel like moving your body a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. So if you wanna volunteer or be a part of Queer Tech, do not hesitate to contact Guy or Naufel, as you can see their contacts on your screen. And again, if you think this webinar would be useful for someone you know, do not hesitate to reach out to Mazdak. I'm sure he will be happy to assist you.
Well, thank you so much, Diego, for
Thank you.
moderating and helping us through this. This was a wonderful session. Thank you for your participation, everyone. Thank you for
everyone.
your activity, and you really enriched the learning experience that we had today. Looking forward to see you all Thursday at noon for the final part of this webinar. On that note, wish you a very pleasant day. Do some planning, do some reassessment, and let's move forward.
See you. Bye-bye.